Okay, this is the last one. I think I'm going to do some videos going over some of the hypotheticals. Um, and I plan on doing some hypotheticals with Will actually. So, um, it's not like this channel is a big deal, but if you want to check out his podcast thing, um, I highly recommend. So we are at the end. Now, this is notwithstanding the fact that I may need to check other parts of the restatements. So don't take this as exhaustive. Okay. I probably should have put that disclaimer at the beginning, but if you made it this far, there it is. The last one I want to go over is this case, Buffalo versus Hart, and I wanted to actually dedicate it to this case specifically because, like, thinking of it required, like, the wrinkles of this case changed the way running the statute of frauds analysis. Um, because the prior cases, Crabtree, Beaver, and Alaska, uh, they they followed the map pretty well, and were very instructive in that regard as well. Buffalo versus Hart was not necessarily easy to run the analysis. And so the story of Buffalo and Hart goes, in short, plaintiff, no, defendant were selling tobacco barns to plaintiff. Okay. And plaintiff said, like, I think he leased them at first and then he wanted to buy them. And so he couldn't afford to buy them. And he tried to actually get a loan out to buy them, was rejected, and promised D that he will make 4 installments of $5,000 in order to pay D for the bonds. Um, P made those payments, I believe. And another wrinkle in there is that he could not buy insurance for the barns because they weren't his barns, right? I think he was leasing them at the time until he made full payment. Um, so defendant bought insurance for the barn and said, well, just pay me the insurance, at the end. And plaintiff did pay the insurance. Um, a detail about these barns as well is that they're not giant barns. Like when I think of a barn, I think of giant red, tall doors with the white X and a roof like this. Right. They almost look like sheds. And so the analysis changes a little bit. And so now we run the analysis of, does the statute of frauds apply? Um, and we go, yes. And so, well, how? Is it, it's not a marriage. It's not on behalf of C's. It's not assuming debts. Is it a land contract? Right? Are you buying the land of the barns? And it's like, no, you're just buying the barns. Um, like, which is kind of like weird too, in a way, because I think the land is the defendant's. So if you bought the barns but you weren't welcome, could you still like trespass onto the barn, right? Uh, that is, I don't want to think about that too long. 1+ year contracts, not that. I mean, there's not a contract of some duration. And so the only other way it can fall into the statute of frauds is through the UCC. And the court in this case said, well, the barns are a good. And I'm guessing the case itself does not actually indicate that it went like the rationale of why they thought it was sufficient, but it was. So these small little barns are good, and they were more than $500 easily. So now we run through the analysis. And so now we go, well, it's here. And is there sufficient writing? There isn't, because nobody wrote anything down. There was a little bit of it in which he was giving checks to the defendant, and then to which the defendant, after 4 days, was like, "We don't want to do this deal anymore," and ripped up the check and gave it back. But that writing actually wasn't sufficient. Um, so we go like there's not enough writing, and so now we ask like, are there exceptions? And so the exception here is a weird one because it's not R 129, it's not R 139. So what is it? And the exception is that the exception is UCC 2201, that a contract is to let me pull it up. To what did I say? 2201. Yeah, 22013B. Okay. In which right, did I say that right? 22013B. It was B, I believe. Let me fix this. But this one essentially says like a contract, if a party whom is sought and admits in disputing testimony or otherwise in court that a contract for sale was made, so in this relation beyond the concept is or okay. A contract which does not satisfy the requirements of subsection 1, but which is valid in other respects, is enforceable. So it's enforceable because UCC 22013 or 1, 3, and B like work in conjunction to say, well, um just because the writing was insufficient and the price wasn't sufficient doesn't mean it's not enforceable. So that's an exception to keep in mind, are like the UCC exceptions. And so this is a big one. Like, don't forget this one because this little wrinkle like really kind of messed up my understanding of it, but it makes sense. And so I still want to play with this section a little bit more. As you can see, I haven't wrote my commentary on the bottom of it, but Buffalo versus Hart is very instructive because these exceptions, right, are not just they're not exclusive to the restatement and to the restatements. Like there are UCC exceptions as well. So keep that in mind. But yeah, that's it. Happy studies, yo, and hope we all make it. We're all in.